really want to know when it stopped. I mean, according to the stories, they picked us up from Africa, brought us over here on these, on ships, boats, and so forth. And we got here, and we were slaves. We basically built the whole damn country, and got no thanks, or what have you. And slavery was it was ingrained in the society. It was it, and we can pretend as if the people in the North didn't like slavery. We can pretend that if that's what we're doing, if we're just considering the fact that only the Confederate Southern states were racist, I can go along with that. That's fine if that's what we're doing. But please, it was all over America, all 13 colonies. You're black, you're racist, you're less than, you're stupid. That's what it was. It wasn't really, you had no opinion, no essence, no thought. So that's how it was. That's what it was from the beginning of this nation. And you have to think about the fact that as soon as slavery was over, well, let me rephrase it. Well, when the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, excuse me, but where? I mean, it's not absolutely no part in there, first of all, that says anything about freeing the damn slaves. Okay, I mean, it wasn't like necessarily, it didn't free them. It gave them no freedom. Not only is that something that is obviously lied about continuously throughout time, we somehow think that when that was signed, that's when it was done. So I just want to let people know that if you believe that the Emancipation Proclamation, which was done in 1863, freed the slaves, if you think that. Also, if you think that we begin to grow equally from there, that didn't happen. That wasn't it. Like I said, the Emancipation Proclamation did not technically free anybody, at all. It was basically him asking for an extension to, keep the money situation to the shebang. But then you think about black codes. I don't know if anybody knows that, but those were going on from like the 1800s to like 1870. They had black codes. It was rules for black people. We had that going on, even though we were free. According to those who believe the Emancipation Proclamation freed us, we were free at this time, but there were still black codes. There were rules on the state level and local level that restricted black people from doing almost everything besides breathing and working, for nothing. Not even after the black codes. I mean, literally, as soon as it was over and they began the so-called Reconstruction era of America, Jim Crow wanted a piece. So he came along, he had the Jim Crow laws, and I mean, I don't know if you don't know what those are. Basically, they're a continuation of the black codes, which was a continuation of slavery. And Jim Crow laws were not just in the South. They also did not end until 1965. 1965. My mother was born 3 years after that. A lot of people's mothers were born in the 60s. Those baby boomers that boomed all them damn children into America, they were raised in a racist society. They were bred in a racist society. And these are people from the 40s and the 50s. Some of them are still senators. Some of them are very, 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 very important. Some of them are still everywhere. My mother died the year that Martin Luther King was killed. Anybody born into that would have to be fucked up. Come on now, seriously, they were fucked up. And the baby boomers went to the Gen Xers, and those Mickey Flickies just passed everything on down to us. It is generational. You are taught. Children do not always learn by word of mouth. They learn by seeing. And you're telling me that the baby boomers that are still here in America right now, actually making laws, you telling me that they weren't born and raised in a society that shushed racism. They didn't stop it. Baby boomers chilled. Okay, because if it wasn't happening in their home, it was fine. So the baby boomers made our parents. Our parents then made us. Our parents were probably the very first generation to think about slavery or racism, because it wasn't necessarily right there in the grain. It began to go behind closed doors, but it was still there. It was very much still there. Still there. And I mean, I want to take it a little deeper for a moment here. The other day or yesterday, I believe I was talking and I said, excuse me, why is it that you are so quick to say that it's over, but when you're confronted with it every day, it's as if you're basically saying that we do it all the time or something. And I cannot understand the concept of people who really don't believe that it's still here. I mean, come on, for crying out loud. It's just, we're always so ready to jump to the fact that it doesn't exist and black people are just being ignorant, but nobody is never really willing to actually go and like look at the shit. Okay, I mean, seriously, why has it not been a rule or a law or something that came out, something that, you know, we all did together to explain why Jesus is black, but he's white? I mean, I'm not necessarily a Christian to the point of that. I was raised Christian, however. And the only Jesus I ever seen was the blonde-haired, blue-eyed one. That's the only one that I've ever seen. And all my life, I believed that it was a false representation. That wasn't. My grandmother lived, she ate, slept, and breathed the Bible. She told us the way they described him. We read it. We went to Bible school. We learned. And it doesn't make any sense that he would be described this way, portrayed this way, and the conspiracy would just be ignored. You know, but when you hear a black person say that to a white person or somebody, like, I mean, okay, really, Jesus, we know that Jesus is black. Why the fuck is this picture still white? Why? If you know this, we know that. Nobody really denies that he was black and y'all lied. But nobody changes the fucking representation. Nobody did that. Nobody cared to do that. Nobody did that. No. So when people like do stuff like the I don't know his damn name. I'm not even gonna pretend. Like the dude that who didn't stand up for the national anthem. Everybody wants to pretend that they're just showing off or they're just doing bullshit because he don't want to stand for a racist ass national anthem. What? Not only is he supposed to be able to freely do that, but he's frowned upon because it's not racism. He's just making fun. Come on, people, please. Nobody would do nothing that fucking serious if it wasn't in their hearts. If it wasn't in their heart, he would not put his fucking career and everything like that on the line for fun. And I mean, I don't know him personally, but I would believe that nobody would do that type of shit. Come on, that's just ignorant. That's just ignorant. I mean, we have to first get all of the lies out to see. Hey, let's figure this one out. Who in the hell is, making all of these decisions? Who in the hell is doing all that they're doing and making everything so important or so important that when something really does happen, everybody's like, oh my God, they're just tripping. They're not racist. What do you mean? No, they're not. They're not racist. That's not what's happening. We, for some reason, want to continue to believe that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and JFK were killed for something to do with race. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. They got us some civil rights and so forth, but it didn't really matter. Racism was not why they killed him. Racism was not why these people killed them at all. I mean, come on. I've seen millions of tapes about, that they died for the fight. But Malcolm clearly was letting you know that it ain't even about race no more. Before he died, he was basically explaining that racism ain't shit when it comes to the system as a whole. It doesn't really matter. But when you change your war from race to morals, to reality, to truth, it's a risk that no one's willing to take. Nobody's willing to take that risk. So that's why they were killed. It really had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they wanted black people to be equal. Come on now. Because if it was, why the fuck was we voting for civil rights? What is a civil right? That don't got shit to do with black people. I mean, you had women's rights, you got gay rights, you got battered women's rights. Who the fuck is civil? I don't know. Excuse me for my language, but really, who is civil? And I mean, it's just crazy. It really is crazy. And I mean, okay, maybe racism doesn't exist, and maybe just maybe, everything that you guys are telling us, black people are really just over exaggerating everything. Maybe that's the case, but how come we still believe Jews are white? I'm not saying that there may not be some Jewish people that are white, but the people who went back to Israel, went to their home, that returned to the promised land, they ain't been returned. Their asses wasn't there at first. They ain't returned no damn well. Okay, because they weren't white. They weren't white. Jesus isn't white. So why the hell would his friends and families and everybody's be white? Jesus wasn't white. Jesus. Oh, Jesus. He wasn't white. So how would his people be white? But race, it doesn't exist. I mean, racism does not exist at all. I mean, they made a movie. They've made several movies. But they've made a movie called Exodus about Egyptians. And they was white. The people in the movie, they was white. They was white. I mean, they was white. Like, if you believe in your heart that racism no longer exists, why would you go see a movie like that? Why? I mean, you know that Egyptians were not white. We know that. I mean, that's literally, you just can't deny. It doesn't make any sense to even try. So, if racism wasn't important, if it no longer exists, if it was done and over with, why would you represent, or why would you be involved in something that's clearly a lie? I don't know. I really, really, really don't know. how you support movies and everything that misrepresents black people on so many levels. How is it okay for them to continue to portray black people as white people and nobody says anything? Nobody does anything. Matter of fact, millions of people go and see the movie. Like, lies are entertaining. I guess. I guess they are. I mean, I didn't see that movie. I paid for cable, so one night I was watching TV and it came on, and I think I made it to like 15 minutes. But after that, it was just like, what the fuck? Why is this Christian Bale? This man is white. Like, white on rice. But he was, an Egyptian. You know, goddamn fucking skin probably burned off back in the... with no damn sunscreen. They just get skin cancer like fucking lollipops. But they was the Egyptians. They were the Egyptians. Egyptians. Holy shit. It you can only laugh in a sense. Like, you can, because I honestly don't know what's going to happen. What it would really take to stop the masquerade. I mean, and I'm not going to necessarily talk about the police shootings. I don't really know where I am on that situation. You probably seen me tweet a bunch of things about people, and when information is brought to me and I can research topics and find the information for myself, sometimes my conclusion may not be the same. And I don't really want to talk about those situations at this moment. I will say, though, I will say that to people who have been watching these things, people who've been watching them, is it easier to believe that these black men or black women were criminals? Is it easy to believe that they were criminals to swallow what the officers did? Is that the reason? Is that your reason for, at all? Is that the reason? Because it's easy to say. It is easy to say that it was their fault. It's easy to say that they were breaking the damn law. It really is easy to say that, and I'm not going to sit up here and say that none of them were. I cannot say that, but I can say, I really want to know that answer. Is it easy for you to understand that? Is it easier to believe that Jay-Z and Beyonce are in the Illuminati than to admit or agree to the fact that they are just really great? It makes sense to me, I mean, that really, it does. What could possibly be any other reason? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Oh God. What? Okay. But it's just, it can't be, that difficult. It really can't be. I mean, I don't know. I do understand that everything happens for a reason. I do understand that, I mean, we all have to deal with things our own type of way. We all have to do that. And it's just, well, I guess better to be okay with your decision when you can fault blame on something or someone else. I think that it's easy to do that, and wrong, but we do it. A lot of us do it. Not just black people. Not just white people. A lot of us do it, and I don't really know how we're supposed to fix the situation when everybody is against it as a whole. When everybody only wants to believe that racism ended some time ago. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I really don't know. I'm serious. And it makes everything just wrong. It really does. And I have no idea, what it may possibly take to, to like the top moment. But I'm hoping that we can figure it out. I really am. I was also hoping to actually have a conversation with people, but either I just don't know nobody, or nobody's really interested in speaking about it, and I totally understand. I'm not, it's not the end of the world. Everything is everything. It's all good. It's okay. So I'm not, I want to be able to talk about it. I want to be able to, visit like friends, have actual conversations that don't necessarily involve being racist. Why can't we just talk about it? And we just talk about it. I have no idea what we're supposed to be doing that makes everything so wrong. No idea whatsoever. So it doesn't make any sense to me.